I'm Big Bob.
And I'm Ann.
What's up? What's up, Big Bob? What's up, Ann? Ann's not here. Oh well, Ann, you're gonna miss a great show. So we always start our show out with a shout out to our executive producer, Brenda Ringwood, who is also the executive director of Becoming the Better You and her foundation, which we both support.
Exactly.
And Dr. Ruben West, world renowned. What are you world renowned for?
Making change,
Making change.
creating impact in people's lives. On my business cards, it says creating change around the world.
Have you created change?
Indeed, I have.
What are some of the changes you've created?
Well,
By the way, making change and creating change,
mhm.
two different things.
Completely two different change.
I mean,
things.
creating change is like there's a void and you create something in the void.
Exactly.
Making change is they're already doing something and you just change them up.
Exactly.
But to create change
Mhm.
in a void, hero worship stuff.
You know, one of the things that I feel like I've been most successful at making change is in my own life.
Well, let's start talking about your life then.
Yeah.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Topeka, Kansas.
All right.
Kansas. I went to Highland Park High School.
You play sports?
Played football. We were unremarkable, 4-32 by the time I graduated. But I also wrestled. I was a state wrestler.
Well, wait. Let me guess the weight. I'm going to guess you about 225 now.
Now, yeah.
Right. Let me guess. You wrestled at 148.
155.
Okay.
That's good. Yeah. That's good. Yeah, and then went to Washburn University in Topeka. I started taking karate as a PE credit.
Okay.
But I wanted to be
Were you a phys ed major?
No, I was a criminal justice major. And I wanted to
criminal justice. What, you wanted to grow up to be a prison guard?
No, I wanted to work for the FBI. I think I wanted to be a hostage negotiator.
Okay.
At the time,
All right.
you know. And but I loved one-on-one sports because I told you we were 4-32.
Right.
So
Not a lot of
since
celebrating.
they had dropped their wrestling club and I'd taken this karate class, and I immediately knew I was going to have a martial arts school. I said, man, I love this. I'm going to have a martial arts school. And that was in 1988, and I opened the school in 96.
So you graduated from Washburn?
Yes, sir.
Undergraduate, graduate degree? Anything?
Positive neuropsychology is my graduate degree.
Wow.
But
that's not phys ed stuff.
No, but that was much later. And what I realized is I wanted to be able to increase the impact that I made when I spoke in different parts of the world or put on my own events, do my own trainings and things like that.
So we've been talking for about an hour before the podcast started, and this is going to be some continuation conversation.
Exactly.
That he and I know were started earlier, but you're going to hear for the first time.
Yeah.
You identified your gift,
yeah,
and then found the skills that supported your gift.
You have to.
Genius.
The reason is, and it's tricky because I'll be honest with you. I was in the military. I joined the Army Reserves when I was a junior in high school. So they had just started this program called the Split Option. So they let you go to basic training during the summer of your junior and senior year,
right,
come back and graduate, and then go to your Army job training.
Okay.
And I did that. When I got done with the job training, I was a surgical tech where we passed instruments in surgery. So I started working in surgery in 87, the year I graduated high school. And then I also started college the next year. To be honest with you, I didn't know what I really wanted to do. I just knew I was expected to do something. So I started college. I was originally a music major, played the trumpet, had music scholarship, but I didn't want to be a band teacher. So after that, I had to switch,
coach.
And so I finished my degree in criminal justice, and I worked at a juvenile corrections facility. And I realized that the difference that I wanted to make was kind of too late already. That if I could reach kids before they got in trouble.
Wow. Wow. So you wanted to reach kids when they were single digits versus the teenager who's already got caught and now
Exactly.
in the system.
Exactly. And then it's easier to raise positive children than to correct children that have went down the wrong path. So that's what made me want to start my martial arts. I said, wait a minute, if I have a school, I can bring them in, teach them self-control, discipline, concentration, all those things, their value, and then guide them in the direction that I wanted to go, as opposed to you're in the correctional facility and I'm trying to convince you that there's more to your life.
See, when I speak to kids, it's all about nature nurture. You got no control over your nature nurture.
Exactly.
The only thing you got control over is your choices.
Exactly.
Right? What friends do you hang out with? Do you do your homework? Do you honor your mom and dad? Do you stay off the street corners? Do you get into a car with a drunken driver? The choices you make and the consequences
to those choices
that you and you alone
mm-hmm.
have to take ownership of. And you're right. You got to catch them at an earlier age that they can. And karate is a great place to do it because they're going, yes, sensei, yes, sensei, yes, sensei. Now you're preaching to them
mm-hmm.
while they're doing their exercises.
Mm. I just want to add to what you just said. I agree with what you said 100%, because there's so many things we can't control. We can't control. We're young. We can't control where we grow up. We can't control where our parents are. We can't control the money. And so here's what I tell them. You can be a product of your environment or a product of your requirement. What do you require of yourself?
Who do you see? What I say is, who do you want to be when you grow up?
Yeah.
What kind of person do you want to be?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's up to you to choose the path that you're going to take to get you to be that person you want to be. You want to be a drug dealer? There's the path.
There's the path.
You want to be a school teacher?
Here's the path.
You want to be a homeowner? Here's the path. You want to be successful and have a big job? There's a path. You decide who you want to be, and we'll help you find the path. The village will help you find the path. Somebody in the village will help you find the path to what you want to be, but it's up to you to work it.
And isn't it funny that they'll help them find the path, whether it's good or bad? You want to be the drug dealer? There's people that'll help you find that path.
You want to be a librarian? There's going to be people who will help you become a librarian.
But you have to live with the consequences of whatever path you decided. And you can't come back and say, well, no, it was their fault. They guided me. No, you chose. What did you require of yourself? You chose.
I've met a lot of very intelligent, articulate, bright, successful people in my life. I don't think I've ever met anybody in my life that has as much wisdom. And it's not just experiences because you're not that old. It is an innate wisdom that is beyond your years that you have been able to articulate and motivate and inspire other people in your wake. It is one of the most beautiful auras I've ever seen.
You know what? I think I'm going to tell you this. When I was younger, I told you I started in surgery when I was 18. And then after a few years, I went to the Gulf War in 91, came back. My father worked at Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company.
Right.
And so they had a summer program where they could, if you were in college, they would give you a summer job. And I think in surgery, I think I was making like $7.02 an hour, but the minimum wage was $3.35. So I still felt like I was rich. But at Goodyear, they were going to pay me like $16, And so my dad got me a summer job. So the hospital let me take a break. I went there and my job was running tires. So what that meant was they had tire builders and they would put them on this track. And then if it was an Eagle ST, I'd pull this lever and push it down this track. Eagle GT, all season aqua tread. Right. All I did was push them down the track. And I worked overnight, like at nighttime.
Night shift.
But the conversation was worthless. The conversation was, well, I like her and who's been with her and who you like and this joke and that joke. And when I was in surgery, I'm listening to all these doctors and anesthesiologists talking about investment.
Exactly.
And so I had to leave that. And my dad couldn't understand. He's like, what are you saying? Like, sir, people fight to get these jobs. Dad, I know, but two things. Number one, I don't want to do something where I'll be trapped, right? Because I'll just have this skill but no knowledge. And when I'm over here, I'm learning all these different things. When I'm over here, my mind is constantly growing.
How old were you?
I was 18.
Wow.
18, 19,
way,
20. Yeah.
Way ahead of the curve.
And so now I'm listening to these doctors talk about investments, talking about business. So when I wanted to start my martial arts school and I was looking for a place, there was a 5,000 square foot facility. And I was meeting with the representative and I said, I really want to get this place. What's the rent? And he said, I think it was like, if I'm not mistaken, like $2,100, $2,150 a month. And he said, are you going to be able to pay that? I said, oh yeah, I'll pay it. And he said, well, let me go back and talk to the landlord. And or the owner, the building owner. And he came back and he said, the owner said he knows you. And he said, you're good for it. And I was like, how does he know me?
Doctor from the hospital.
Yeah. And he said, his name is Robert McElroy. I said, I don't know of Robert McElroy. He said, he works with you. I said, where? He said, at Stormont. I said, I don't know Robert McElroy. He said, he's a surgeon. I said, oh, you mean Dr. McElroy? He said, yeah, I never knew his name was Robert. He said, yeah, he believes in you wholeheartedly. It was $18,000 to do the build out. We did the build out. 3 years, never missed a payment, never done anything. No problem. When he sold the building, he said, Ruben, you don't re-up. I was like, why? He said, because you could do this on your own. Like you could buy your own building, do your own thing. Like you have the wisdom, you have the determination, you have desire. I said, well, why didn't you tell me that before I paid? He said, well, my wife needed a car. You were going to pay. But now that she has it, I got to tell you. So I think in being committed to what you do and holding yourself to a higher standard, you have no idea the people that are watching you. Life is watching you. And so had he not seen me show up to surgery every day, had he not seen me be excellent in that environment, see, people think that they can cheat the environment. They think if I work for you, I'll do a half-assed job. And then on my own, I'll do great. No, excellent is a habit. It's a habit. So you be excellent everywhere you go. And because he saw me be excellent in surgery, he saw me be excellent when I showed up and helped prepare for the case, then when he heard it was me that wanted to rent his building, he was like, oh yeah, this guy's good for it.
You're a renowned speaker.
Yes, sir.
How many different speeches do you have in your repertoire?
Interesting enough, I don't really have any memorized.
How many different topics?
Oh my goodness, so many.
Can you talk about anything?
Probably.
If a guy shows up and says, hey, talk about marriage, you
right
rip
now.
it off for an hour.
Right now.
Okay.
Easy.
Really? Who are your mentors?
I have several mentors. One of my mentors is my speaker trainer. That was Les Brown, world-renowned speaker trainer. Right. And then another mentor is Dr. Clyde Rivers. He's a world civility leader. He introduced me to the president of Burundi, the vice president in Guyana. He opened some major doors for me. But not only did he open the doors, he walked the walk. Remember, I told you it's different being around people who manage it and being around people who have done it. And so to see him, how he carried himself when he's meeting with world leaders and getting these doors open and then introducing me as if I have this value.
Have you ever been intimidated by meeting, not physically, emotionally, intellectually, intimidated by meeting somebody?
You know, in a way, in that if you ever meet a president, there's stages. They don't just call you and you go walk in the room. Number one, they rarely ever tell you the actual time that you're going to meet. And then they put you in one room, and then they move you to the next room, and they move you to the next room, and they're watching you. They're watching how do you conduct yourself? What do you have with you? When I got a chance to meet the president of Burundi, they took everything. They checked our pockets, took everything. No phone. They don't want you to have any recording device. And then someone told me, she said, I told her that my goal was to be like my mentor, Les Brown. I wanted to be. He showed me a video of him speaking in the Georgia Dome with 80,000 people. And I said, I want to speak in front of 80,000 people. And she said, your calling is a handful. And now, for somebody who wanted to speak in front of 80,000, that was a heartbreak. I was like, what do you mean a handful? I want 80,000, not from an ego sense, but I was in front of 80,000, then I can impact 80,000 lives at one time. She said, I'm sorry, and I'm sorry to say this, but God has called you to speak to a handful. And I remember feeling this way. But what I realized is...
Let me say this to you. If I heard you up on the stage I would have said, I wrote a couple pages of notes, very interesting, whatever. It would not have had the impact
Right.
that you've had on me already,
Exactly.
because you said the same things from the stage that you would have said one on one.
Right.
But all of a sudden, the impact to me
Exactly.
is beyond impactful.
Yeah.
It is memorable. It's noteworthy. It's life changing. It is inspirational.
Thank you.
And if I heard it from the pulpit, I'm going, yeah, that's his.
It's his spiel. That's
his speech.
You know, let me tell you, Bob. What I didn't realize at the time is when I was in there with the president of Burundi, it was just a handful. And see, the vice president of Guyana, Dr. Rivers, opened the door. Then we went back. I flew on the plane with him to his village, spent several days with him. It's just me and the Secret Service around the table. And what I realized is when you inoculate a world leader with your knowledge, they can inoculate the country.
Right.
That's greater than 80,000.
Would you rather be the puppet or the puppeteer?
Exactly.
Right. You're pulling his strings.
Yeah.
Helping him define the policies
Exactly.
and the moral compass,
right,
of how to rule a nation.
And no one could have ever convinced me, being from Topeka, Kansas, being from Highland Park, just Ruben West from Topeka, that I would one day be able to sit with a world leader or more than one world leaders and be able to share information and insight that they may see valuable. So when she said a handful, I wasn't thinking that kind of handful. I was just thinking there's just a room full of people. But no, she was saying that you've been called to the top.
All right. You've met world leaders.
Yes, sir.
You've met billionaires.
Yeah.
You've met. Has anyone left you, if you walked away saying, boy, I'm impressed with that person?
Mm.
I mean, you hold your own with everybody.
Mm.
And I'm not saying you look down on him, but you're saying he doesn't get it.
Mm.
I mean, how many people have you met in your life that you're going, yeah, they're on my level?
You know, several, and one is so unopposing, and his name is Reverend Dr. Temeskin. He is from Ethiopia. I met him through Dr. Rivers. Dr. Rivers was appointed king in Ghana, and he was there at his installation. Yeah. And he was very unopposing, and I talked with him. It was nothing. And then he called me and he said, Ruben, I'm in Dubai. I want you to come to Dubai. But he said, I'm in South Sudan. I want you to come to South Sudan. I want you to speak to these people. And I was like, well, I'm over in Kenya and I'm busy. And I think Dr. Rivers is coming. And he said, okay, well, don't worry about it. One of these days we're going to meet up. And I ended up finally connecting with him in Dubai. And it was life-changing. Just, he's so unopposing.
Have you modeled your approach, or have you modeled your approach over his influence, or were you like that before you met him?
No, I learned so much from him.
Jeez,
just watching him move. First of all, he orchestrates. Like, first of all, we went through we were in Dubai, and then we were going to Egypt. We went to Egypt, and then we were going to Turkey, Israel, and South Sudan. I was traveling. Now, I didn't get to go because my passport was full, and I didn't know that you had to have blank pages in your passport. So they were like, you can't travel. Right. I was like, what is this? They said, no, you got to have.
Spot right here on the bottom of the page.
They said, no, you got to have blank pages. When I checked, it does say you should have 2 blank pages before you travel. So I had to come back. But he said when he was a kid, he was in the refugee camps in Ethiopia. And this is why I realized that life builds. But he speaks like 10 different languages. So every time we'd get on the plane, he'd start rattling off another language. And I'd go with him to this place. He'd rattling off another
what languages you speak?
English and Pig Latin.
Pig Latin. Pig Latin. Yeah, I know. I've heard of that one.
Yeah, you know, but he was
Little
just,
pigs.
He was so unimposing, but he's so powerful. Just to watch him, just to see him move. And then he speaks to you in a way. He told me, don't talk. Let me introduce you. And then sometimes they'd be speaking their own language. I don't know what they're saying about me.
You
It just,
nod,
I
you
just
sit there
know when
nod,
they look at
smile,
me, they're
yeah.
like, wow, yeah, like, I really like this guy. So whatever he said was something great. And it really taught me a lesson that I felt like I knew, but I seen it in real life. And that is that you're never downgrading yourself by upgrading someone else. Like, it doesn't matter how good he talked
Yeah,
about me.
wait,
It
so-
wasn't downgrading him. He would say all this great
So
stuff.
all the
you know?
great stuff I say about you doesn't make me less a person.
Or me, what I say about you.
Okay.
You see what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
then
And
say something nice about me.
well, Bob, we're in your
will,
office. What is there to say? Look,
Okay.
good Lord,
I'll
look at
do
this.
something, right.
No, I know that, but what I've realized is a lot of times people are afraid of the person next to them. Not physically afraid, but
Intimidated.
yeah, because they want to shine. They if they know too much about you, maybe they won't be interested in me. You see, especially when you're a speaker and you're going on the stage with all these different speakers. And I remember I got a chance to speak for Get Motivated, and it was in New Orleans. And they, Get Motivated. I said some of the
Biggest
names in the business on their stage. So I'm going in there, and I remember being in the green room, and I'm sitting in there, and I'm seeing these people that I've admired from the bar, and I realized
they're nothing much.
people, and I don't have an act. I see one person was on stage, and then they came backstage and they said, the people out there want to talk to you. And he said, well, do they want to buy something? And he was like, well, I don't know. They just want to talk. He said, I don't have time for that.
Right.
Wow, you don't have time for that? And what I realized, Bob, is I'm always me. And watch this. You cannot consistently be who you are not. So the problem is when they go on stage and act one way, and then when you meet them in person, like, who are you? Because you weren't like this on the stage. What I like about you, what I like about me is I'm the same Ruben,
Hey, look,
24/7.
it's easy to be me.
Exactly.
It's a lot of hard work to be
Someone else. Yeah. And then once you put on the front, you have to keep it up.
Right.
And sooner or later it's going to crack because you cannot consistently be who you are not.
That's why I never lie.
Yeah.
You tell one lie, you got to start remembering the lies you tell.
Right.
I'm just going to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
And if you
don't like it,
I'm going to be me regardless if you like me or not.
Exactly. And that's really what I've learned, especially as I travel around the world, is I can only be me.
All right. I read a little bit about your devotion to family.
Yes, sir.
Is family the center of the universe?
I think for me it is, only because we're going to leave a mark in some way.
Your greatest legacy is your kids.
And that's it. That's the mark you're going to leave. Like they were asking me earlier about my traveling internationally. I have a son now that's in junior high. He's in the 6th grade. And as much as I love traveling, I love doing stuff with him. I love doing simple stuff, just barbecuing on the grill and talking to him and sharing different insights and wisdom, and then taking him with me to see.
He's only 12.
Yeah.
So the rebellious teenage years may or may not affect him. He may in the next couple of years think he becomes smarter than you. You know, I mean, you've been a father for a while.
Yeah.
I believe the 5 to puberty is the greatest time to have children because they worship their parents.
They're malleable. Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
So you're teaching him so much.
Yeah.
That even if a fraction goes into his teenage years,
exactly,
it's salvageable.
Yep. And I love just going to the store because there's stuff I could teach him at the store. Son, do you see the way they put the basket back? You see that he got his grocery out of the car and just left the basket in the parking lot? Don't ever do that.
Right.
You have to be a finisher.
You see the way one person said please and thank you, and the other one didn't.
Exactly.
There's a difference between put the cart back and please put the cart back.
Exactly. This lady told me she had met my son, and she said, she had went to my house, met with my wife. They did whatever. She said, your son is Robinson, right? I said, yeah, that's my son. She said, he walked me to my car. I was like, huh? She said, when I got ready to leave your home, he came out and actually walked me to my car to make sure I got in my car okay. And at the time, he was like 11. And that, I don't know what anyone could have said that made me feel even better. I was like, wow.
Dr. West, You never told him to do that.
No.
He saw you do it
Yeah.
50 times. Whenever somebody came to your house, you walked them to their car.
Yeah.
Just because it's the polite, respectful way to acknowledge someone has come to your house.
Exactly.
You're walking them out to their car. He's learned this not through osmosis,
Mm-mm.
but from examples
Exactly.
of the righteous way to do it.
And that made me feel good. And what I learned, and I would advise any parent, is life is the best teacher. Kids watch what we say, but they imitate what we do. So you can tell them, don't do this, but then you do it, they're going to do it.
Right.
So I love that he did it because he had to learn that. It's like, man, I'm doing something right.
You know, whenever I meet a young man,
Mhm.
16 to 25,
Mhm.
and he's put together the right way, he says please and thank yous, he's attentive. I say, go home and thank your parents.
Mhm.
They did a spectacular job of teaching you the right values.
Mhm.
Right?
That's it, isn't it?
You have to acknowledge, because you don't learn that stuff by yourself.
No. And what I've found, Bob, is that manners can take you places that money cannot. Manners can open doors that money cannot.
Especially if they're sincere,
Mm-hmm.
right? If they're authentic.
Yep.
If they're phony, people will see through
Oh, yeah,
it.
they see that.
Right? Just like, be who you are. I happen to be a relatively polite, respectful individual.
Yeah.
Transparently.
Yeah.
I think you're the same way.
Indeed.
Do I use profanity? Yeah, but it's authentic profanity.
He said, I'm being who I am.
I'm just being who I am.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think that at times we get a chance to show just our authentic self, and people recognize it. And then there's things that they can see in you that others would not necessarily notice. But it opens up so many. For me, it has opened so many doors.
How many charities are you involved with?
Oh, probably about 5 or 6, and then there's some we do. Like my son has this school that he does over in Kenya. He's building a playground for the kids in Kenya. But
a little fundraising. Okay, I get you.
Yeah, and he started that. It was his own idea.
Is he selling candy bars door to door?
You know what? This is funny, but my wife, when he was 3, got him in this modeling contest pageant, and he ended up winning. And he's won every year. He must have
gotten the good looks from his mother.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. And so he used the money that he raised for that to turn over. He went around door to door collecting donations. Like, these are all his own ideas. But he saw my wife and I donate a 2-story kitchen to the school in Kenya. Because they were going to have to close after COVID, because they said they could no longer bring in food. So if they didn't have a place to cook the food, the school had to close. Well, we didn't even know that. We just wanted to help. But it turns out that it was the right thing at the right time. And so my son wanted to see what he could do when we visited there. He said, well, the kids, they didn't have a place to play. And I said, well, what are you going to do? He said,
I tell you something. How many kids you got?
3.
Are the other ones so infected with good values also?
They very much are. My daughter is a nurse. She's an ICU nurse at the hospital. She graduated in the midst of COVID, so she had no graduation and went directly from college to COVID ICU. And then my son is a K-State graduate, and he went from there to work for Pepsi.
You see where Pepsi got pulled off the shelves in England today?
I didn't see that.
Yeah. Is there a theme that connects all of your community service and your charitable works?
You know, for me, it is my theme is make a difference even at the smallest level.
Well, that's small groups.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but even at this, like,
but is it kids? Is it urban? Is it
no? It's kind
education?
of diversified.
Is it?
You know what I like is I like participating. Like, the ones I do is kids, just because that's kind of my passion. I love helping the kids and stuff. But then I like participating with other people that may have a diversified. Like one person is girls.
Right.
It's not my thing, but they still need help. So let me support her in that way.
For me, I think it's more I'm supporting because of somebody else's influence on me. I didn't know Brenda existed, didn't know what her cause was, didn't know what becoming the best you was, what it was capable of. but I believed in her.
Mm-hmm.
And so when she introduced the concept to me, I said, I think I could become involved with this.
Yeah.
It's not that I suck her out, it's that she infected me,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
And there's something in this program for everybody, for everything. And it's so complete. It's not like cancer research, which only affects
Right.
a large percent. This affects 1,000%, 100% of everybody.
Yep.
Because even if you don't need help, even if you have become the best version of you,
Then we need you.
your obligation is service
Exactly.
to give back to help
Right.
other
Then
people.
we need you to help
Right.
the other
So
people.
the service part of it
Exactly.
is for even those who have all the financial, all the health, all the spiritual and emotional connection that
Mhm.
makes them healthy. Now you're obligated to give back and help.
Exactly.
So
And
there's
she
something for
has
everybody.
such a diversified group. Like if you ever come to the event, if you ever participate, if you the range of people that are there is so diversified that if in any other context, it would be hard to believe that they were all in the same room together. Like, well, who are you?
Collective.
And then
Right.
who are you?
It's
And you're here
full-
with them. And then nobody cares.
Right.
Like nobody has an ego. Say, hey, how's it going? And there is no big I, little you. It's everybody's there doing their part.
I'd like to see this organization be real successful, only because it's helping me
Mm-hmm.
become a better me
Mhm.
by serving other people,
Mm-hmm.
which has been what you've done most of your entire lifetime.
Yeah.
I'm just catching on.
Yeah.
Right. That service allows me to become a better me.
Isn't that interesting though?
Right. It's better to give than receive. Blah
Indeed.
blah blah blah. We've heard these all our lives,
But it's different when
it
you
just not.
Yeah.
I mean, I've served as a young man. I've served on 10 or 15 boards,
Mhm.
right? But it didn't make that much of a difference.
Right.
Sitting on a board of directors, I did not make a difference.
Mm.
Writing checks, I did not make a difference.
Mm.
But this organization, by serving the organization,
Mm.
not just writing a check or being on a board, but by actually doing activities,
Mhm.
I'm becoming a better person.
Indeed.
And it is very, very fulfilling to give back when you can give
Indeed.
without asking for anything in return.
Indeed.
It is a beautiful, beautiful opportunity. It's like Christmas every day.
Yeah.
Because you get to give, who cares what you get?
Yeah. You know what? One of the things I think that we misconstrue is the concept, in the Bible, it talks about give and it shall be given unto you,
Right.
But the mistake I feel like people make is they think, okay, Bob, I'm going to give to you and you're going to give back to me. It's not what it said.
No.
It said give and it shall be given unto you. You don't know where it's coming from. And I think what I always try and tell people is take a 360-degree look at what comes to you. And so I keep a gifting or blessing book, a blessing journal, where people, my son and I were at Cracker Barrel. And, I love teaching them stuff. So I'm there talking to them about this. How do you pay on the thing? This does that. And so we get ready to get done. And I'm trying to teach them how to pay on the mobile app. And the lady comes up and says, your food has already been paid for you and your son. I was like, no, we have the mobile app. She said, no. There was two groups that saw you two working together, and they wanted to cover your cost. And I'm like,
they don't know you. They know
I-
nothing
I-
about
and
it. They just said, there's a man
And-
who's teaching his son,
Yes.
and we want to say thank you.
And I said, well, who is it? And she said, they're
They-
gone. They didn't want you to
Right.
know. So that went right in my blessing book. You see what I'm saying?
I'm
Like there's
tearing-
so many
I
things
am
that
tearing
come.
up. That
There's
is
so
beautiful.
many things that come. The world is a great place if you look for it.
Right.
You see, now I could have said, okay, well, thanks.
Right.
No, but I wanted to show him and tie it back to Robinson. Do you see the way we give? Do you see the people we help? And then out of nowhere, I love that. Not forget the meals, just that my son got a chance to see it, because to me, there's a special place in my heart for sons and dads, for daughters and dads. Like I just think, pardon me, but dads are great. Like I just think they are great, and a lot of times they're not recognized for all the sacrifices we make, for all the time we put in, for all the investment. Because a lot of times dads are working and mom gets to take the kids here and there, and my wife gets to take my son to Disneyland and all that stuff. But I've got to work. I mean, I can't just go. It's not like I wouldn't want to go, but I can't. So those little small moments just at the grill where I'm teaching him the grill, like for Christmas, this Christmas, he got like about 15 spices, a Chef Robinson hat, and a Junior Chef Robinson hat, shirt. The reason I love that gift is because that's just time him and I are going to spend together out on the grill. You see what I'm saying? Like, I love that there's just doing nothing or something, just the fact that we get to be together.
Parenting is the single most important thing anybody can accomplish in their life.
Mm-hmm.
Making sure their children help our village carry the water instead of just taking the water, right? That they are active and constructive and positive influences on their community. And the only way they can learn that isn't at home and the immediate village that is helping them grow up. Single most important thing we do
Mm-hmm.
is making sure our children stand on their own two
Two
feet and give back.
Yeah, that's it. And so many people.
Your children have no clue, none, and they won't know until their 40s or 50s what you have done for them.
Yeah, there's no way to know. Like,
there's because they have nothing to compare with. They don't know what it was like growing up across the street where their parents did not take the time
right.
to try to love them unconditionally. Okay, but mentor them, teach them, expose them. That the story in the restaurant has nothing to do with a free meal.
No,
it had, and it really doesn't have that much to do with you and your son.
Right.
It has to do with strangers
recognizing
the
the value
of
yes.
you teaching your child.
Exactly.
That our whole village is getting it.
Right.
That is the most valuable part of that.
My son didn't understand. Like, I was trying, because he was 10, I think. And I was trying to explain it to him. He's like, well, Dad, they paid for our food. I said, and I was overwhelmed.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It hit me in an emotional way. And I was like, yeah.
It's hitting me in an emotional way. And the story's only being retold. I didn't have to live it.
And he said, well, why did they pay it? I said, well, they wanted to. He said, well, why? I said, because have you ever been to the movies? It's the only thing I could think. He said, well, yeah. I said, did you like it? Yeah. And I said, did you pay? Yeah. I said, have you been out to eat? Yeah. Did you like it? Yeah. You paid? Yeah. We have the right to contribute to something that we see value in. And when they saw you and I, they saw value and they wanted to contribute to that. And to do it anonymously. Like, we don't even know who it was.
Right.
We couldn't find who it was. And we still talk about it to this day because we can do it. Like, I know how it made me feel. So I look for that opportunity because I want to, once I experienced it, I want to reward the same thing.
Yeah, but you know what? You're not finding it.
No.
You haven't found, you can't, wait, your relationship with your son, I don't want to say it's unique, but probably unlike anything these people had ever seen before.
Yeah.
So that they were probably grandparents, right?
Yeah.
And they were probably saying, wow.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Let's $30. Who cares?
Right.
But they were so emotionally overwhelmed.
Yes.
With the love that you had for your son.
That's it.
And the respect that your son had for you.
Yeah.
And by the way, that's one of the things I try to teach my kids. A parent has to love their child unconditionally.
Yep.
They don't have to like their kids.
No.
They don't have to respect their kids.
No.
They don't have to do any, but they have to love their kids unconditionally.
Mm-hmm.
A child doesn't have to like their parents.
Right.
Doesn't have to love their parents.
But they have
to
to
respect their parents unconditionally. And that is how the relationship, the foundation of the relationship starts. And the bonuses is they like and respect and love
one another.
Package.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. But what these people saw was your unconditional love.
Yeah.
And your son's unconditional respect.
Indeed. Yeah, indeed.
By listening and saying yes.
Yeah. And we didn't even know they were listening.
Right.
You know, I started going back wondering, like, what all was I saying? And well, I wonder what they heard, you know, because I wasn't even paying attention. I hadn't thought about that
Right.
at the time. Yeah. Life is
Very
unique
rich.
that way.
That is very, very rich.
Thank you.
Do you travel just United States and Africa, or do you do?
No, I've been to Dubai and Bahrain and London and Guyana and Canada, and that's the second time I've done that.
Why don't you just turn it off?
Yeah, I'm gonna do it right now.
I'm more important than anybody who
I'm gonna
possibly
turn that
call
off.
you.
I thought I turned it off, but
Anywhere you want to speak, you haven't spoken.
you know what? I would want to travel. This is funny, but I'd like to travel to Japan.
How's your Japanese?
I got domo arigato.
Oh, there you go.
And,
That's more than I can say.
Yeah, only from my martial arts days.
Right,
you
right,
know.
right.
I just have a true appreciation for other cultures.
What is it about their culture that you want to experience firsthand?
You know, having studied martial arts, and I had a martial arts instructor, Katsumatsu Nohara, from Japan. Um, it was interesting hearing how they look at martial arts and how we looked at it. From them, it was a family thing. Like it was an art passed down in the family.
Right.
We learned it at a studio with an instructor, but them, it was really a family.
Yeah.
It was a family art. So I
Karate
love.
Kid too.
Yeah, yeah. I love their structure. They have tea ceremonies. I love the formality of the way they make things. That they're making a big deal out of something that could be no deal.
Do you read much for pleasure?
Yeah.
Not just to study, but
Yeah,
for pleasure.
yeah.
Have you ever read James Clavell's Shogun?
No, I have not.
It's a magnificent book about the first British people, I think it was British, who ended up being stowaways on the Japanese islands.
Mm.
And the Japanese culture through his eyes, going back 500 years. And it is magnificent story. Magnificent.
You know what I love about it is they can make an art
Out of anything.
out of anything. Like even when they do the calligraphy,
Right.
There's a whole formal way they do it. Doing the tea, there's a formal way to sit, a formal way to be presented. Like it just.
Yo, man, I need another glass of water. No, don't work like that.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
And the other thing is, they talked about how clean the bathrooms are, like something that we would kind of disregard, but it's pristine.
What do you do for recreation?
For recreation, you know, I like to hunt. I enjoy that.
Bow, arrow, shotgun, pistols,
shotgun, a rifle. I like to go boar hunting.
Boar hunting.
Yeah,
they're hunting you.
Oh, yeah. If you get
deer ain't coming after you.
Yeah.
That boar might come after you.
Yeah, indeed. You know, that's something that my dad and myself, my brother, we would do together.
Right.
Fishing.
Okay.
You know, we did a lot of father-son fishing trips.
I
saw that up there.
Right.
Father-son fishing trips. But if you listen to what I'm saying, it all equals time. It's like the things that allow me to spend time with my mom and dad, my children, my family. It's just time.
So you don't follow the Royals or the Chiefs? Or,
I am a diehard 6-time world champion Pittsburgh Steelers fan. I see you're a Chiefs fan. Now, I like the Chiefs too as my second team. But when I was growing up as a kid, you know, I was born in '69, and it was always the Cowboys and the Steelers. So my whole rest of my family is Cowboys fans, except my dad, he's a Chiefs fan.
I was in Pittsburgh in 75, 76.
Really?
And I had an opportunity. There's a picture of me and Terry Bradshaw.
Oh, yeah.
But I had a opportunity to get to know a lot of the Steelers.
Yeah.
Because I was coaching at the University of Pittsburgh. But after I left Pittsburgh, once I moved to Kansas City, even though the Chiefs weren't doing so well,
that's true.
Became a
Chiefs fan.
Yeah. I had
to support local. Yeah.
Right. How often are you religious?
Yes.
How often you participate?
You know, when I grew up, we lived at church.
Okay.
You know, my mother was an associate pastor. She worked with the youth. My grandfather was a pastor. I have 4 uncles that are now bishops.
Right.
So that was, you know, our life. Now I do it more on my own.
God is in your bedroom with you. You don't have to go to church.
Right. And I still don't mind going, but I like to experience it in different ways. And as I travel,
You experience it that morning in the restaurant with your son.
exactly. And that's what I mean, in different ways.
Right.
Like, you can see God in so much if you learn to look. He's in so much if you learn to look. Or you can not see him in anything. It's only because you didn't look. It doesn't mean it wasn't there. It means you didn't look. When you learn to look, then you can see. And so even like becoming the best you, when you get these people together, and that's why I love doing my events, because when I get the people together, I want them to feel a sincere, no judgment love. One guy said at my event, he got on the stage and he said, I can't read or write. And I've never told anybody that, but I just don't think anybody here would judge me. And I've never been in an environment like that. That moment, I knew I did the right thing. I knew I created the environment where people could come and just be themselves. Your flaws don't make a difference. Your downfalls, it is irrelevant to us. And I've sent people away, people on my staff. Before we opened the doors, I said, look, there's people who are coming in to be healed. They don't even know it, but I'm bringing them in to be healed. If you have any personal issue,
Please,
anything bothering
heal me,
leave. I tell them, like, please don't be in this line. But when they come in, I don't want them to feel any judgment, anyone looking down on them. Like, I want them to feel like they're in the right place at the right time with the right group, and they have nothing to worry about. And so when he said that to me, the Bible says God is love, not God does love. God is. It's a state of being, is love. And so when he said there's so much love in this room, I don't feel like anyone would. I've never told anybody. Like, I didn't know he couldn't read or write. He said, but I've never told anybody that, and I don't mind saying it.
And when I'm around people now in becoming the best you, I say the seventh level, the highest level, is not to judge.
Yeah.
That is your greatest gift to yourself and to your community, is not to judge others, to accept everybody for who they are.
Right.
Not what they do, not what they say, who they are.
Right.
Right. And with their faults.
Right.
You might want to coach them up, but don't judge.
And Bob, isn't that profound? One of the things the Bible says is love thy neighbor as thyself, right? Now, that it wouldn't be hard for me to love my neighbor if he was just like me. If he thought like me, looked like me, dressed like they had the same religion as me, had the same background as me. That's not hard.
I wish I was like you.
But you see, like, that's not hard.
Right.
The challenge is, what if they're nothing like you?
Right.
What if they don't think like you?
What if they're Democrats?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
or whatever. You see what I'm saying? The challenge becomes, that's the challenge.
Right.
Like, to be able to look at somebody and they have a completely different background, a completely different thought process. They're just not like you. And you say, but I love you for who you are.
I can accept anybody if they will be non-judgmental, tolerant, and civil.
Exactly.
We can have 1,000% different views on 100% of almost
everything. Yeah.
As long as we're civil and respectful in the way we communicate it.
And that's it. And that's why to me, the civility is the key. When I was in Kenya and I started an organization called Campaign Civility, I wrote a book.
Geez, how come I feel so, I really, just meeting you, I feel like a disciple. I feel like I'm walking in your wake and want to try to catch up to where you are.
That's funny.
Because
it just impacted me. I wrote a book called Campaign Civility, How to Win the Hearts of the People to Win the Election. Because most of the time we use a divide and conquer strategy and we have to separate them. But what I realize is that you don't have to separate them. Like, that you could just talk about, there's things that everybody wants. There's certain issues that they want. But because this is what's always worked, divide and conquer, then that's what they do. So I wanted to start that organization. So I started an organization called Civility for Kenya. I was picked up by the Kenya Election Commission. They let me help out. And I'm proud to say that there was no violence during that election cycle. Not that it was just because of my organization, but I like the idea of being able to put an idea out there. And one of the things I said is people wanted peace. And here's what I said on the newscast. And it just came out. And I said, peace is a destination. but civility is the transportation to get to
Oh,
the peace.
geez.
You
That's
see what I'm saying?
beautiful. Yes.
It's civility. Like you said, as long as we're civil and we treat each other with
We
respect,
can grow
we can
together.
grow together. We can even disagree. But there's
100% of the
a way that you deserve to be treated, and that I should treat you civilly, regardless of whether we agree or disagree. It's once we lose civility, now we got to bring in UN peacekeeping forces to use guns, talking about keep the peace.
How about this? That might solve 90% of the problems in the world.
It would. It would. See,
It would solve 90% of the problems in the United States for sure.
yeah,
Like
see,
that.
the mistake they make is they talk about keep the peace. Well, peace has to be created before it's kept. How do you create it? Through civility. People
Tolerance.
and what happens is peace becomes a tired word because it loses its meaning because we've used it over and over and over and over again. And then you can have UN peacekeeping forces come in with guns, talking about keep the peace. Watch this. Peace is not the absence of violence, right? Because you can have someone in an abusive situation, and just because they're not fighting that day doesn't mean they're at peace. It just means that there's no violence there. Peace is a state of being that I don't feel threatened, I don't feel attacked, that I can just be me, and it's okay. I feel if we get to that, our whole world will change. The whole political system will change. The schools will change. It's just a way to think of it differently.
How many people in your inner circle besides family?
Probably 10. 10.
Would you consider allowing me to fill out an application?
I would love to have you in my inner circle. Number one, I just know there's so much I can learn from you.
Oh, no.
No, I really do, because what I've learned is that the more people I get close to and understand, see, you can't have created what you've created without having some knowledge that I can learn from. I'm smart enough to know that. Not because you say it, not because it has to be. Why? Because there's a difference between people who manage it and people who created it. There is a different mindset that it takes to create a thriving business with multiple franchises and multiple families that you're responsible for. You have to have a heart for the people, but you have to have the discipline to say this is where the rubber has to meet the road, and we have to toe this line. There's a level of learning that most people don't get because they've never had to have it. They've never tried to take on undertaking like this. But once you do, then you start to realize, no, I got to learn this. I got to pick up this. Let me learn a little bit more about this person. And let me learn a little bit more about this person. And then let me learn a little bit more about myself. And what would I do in this situation? How would I want to be treated in this situation? And there's just a level of growth that you come into the knowledge of just from doing it. And that's why I'd rather, well, let me tell you, Bob, and you tell me, average person.
There's no average person here.
But you
there might be some average people out there.
You're gonna start a business.
Right.
And you can have a 2-year mentorship. And you can have a 2-year mentorship from, I don't know, professor at the university who teaches business.
The answer is he's not going to be my mentor.
Or you can have Steve Jobs or Bill Gates or any other person who's done it.
Yeah, the old adage, those who can't do teach.
Right. And so what we know is that we can learn more from the people who are doing it.
Right.
That's why I always encourage people to do it. See, that's why I love what Brenda's doing with becoming the best you, because you're doing it. Right. It doesn't matter how big or small an event is, you're doing it. Because you can always grow an event. You can always grow something to the next level if you started it, but you can't grow something you didn't start.
Right.
You can't develop something you didn't start.
You have to have the acorn before you have the tree.
Exactly.
And if you don't have the seed, nothing grows.
Yeah. And then what I found is a lot of people have the seed, they won't plant it.
Oh, and then they don't nurture it. They don't care. They take it for granted.
Then they blame somebody else.
How about this? They cut it off too soon before it bears fruit because it's killing the view, right?
Exactly.
Killing the view of the lake.
Or here's another one I've found is a lot of people don't realize that a lot of growth requires you to let go of some things and let go of some people. You never see butterflies hanging out with caterpillars. even nature recognizes the need for separation after transformation. See,
Wow.
after you transform, there's some people that you
Wow.
have to let go of. See,
You're right.
like trees
Absolutely.
release dead leaves automatically. You don't have to
right.
tell them to do it. They're like, okay, you're
Right.
done, boop, and they just fall off. But there's certain relationships that we can make the mistake of holding on to, not knowing that they are not nurturing, they're not beneficial, and they're not going to help us. As a matter of fact, they're going to stop us from getting where we want to go.
I think I've done that consciously.
Mm.
That not that I can't use them, but they add nothing to the quality of my life.
Right.
And if they're not adding to the quality of my life, why am I investing time in it?
Because the time is taken away.
Right.
Yeah. You see that it's addition and subtraction are opposites. They go hand in hand. So if they're not adding to it, they're taken away from it. There's not neutral, because if you give them time, then you're taking away time, and now it's no longer neutral. And so I think one of the most mature things we can do is say, I'm making some changes in my life, and if you don't hear from me, you're one of them.
don't judge. Where do you live in Chicago?
Bloomington, Illinois. Bloomington.
We almost had a bunch of stores in Bloomington. Just
Really?
didn't work out. Yeah. How often you get down here?
Pretty often, because my family still lives here. My son lives in right around here, so I'm gonna go meet with him. I was happy.
Tonight?
I told him, hey, I'm gonna.
All right. I would like to have an opportunity to spend more time with you.
Indeed.
Small groups.
I'd love to.
I mean, just whether it's dinner, whether it's you drink.
Yeah.
I don't, but I'll drink with you.
Yeah.
I'll have a cocktail. Yeah, I would like very much
Please.
to be able to. Your fellowship is important to me.
Thank you.
There's not that many people I can learn from.
Yeah, and that's why that's my circle. Like the people that I've been with, I'm a very loyal person. My friend Kevin, we've been together in business.
He did this show with us.
Yeah, we've been
He
together.
wasn't as good as you, but he did it.
He's better than me. We've been together in business for 7 years. I was homeless at one time, and he allowed me to stay with him. And let me tell you what he did. He said, it's my older children, and him and his wife came to me and they said, you're going to have your children this weekend. I said, yeah. He said, we're going to just go
We'll check into a hotel, take the house.
And you.
What a gift.
Things like that you can't pay for. You know what I'm saying? It's friendships like that you can't pay for.
Those are the type of people that you work to keep that relationship intact the rest of your life.
Lifelong.
No matter what he does.
Lifelong.
Right? Because he might screw up, but he gets a pass on a couple of screw ups. Because of
Bob, I learned so much when I lived with him. This is so true, because see, as a man, you only know what you were taught, and you're usually taught by the men in your family. But there was just simple everyday things that I saw he did. Like one day we were sitting at the table, and he asked his wife, hey, he was cooking some chicken or something. You want any? And she said, no, I don't want any. I'm just gonna have the salad. So they get it done. He sits down at the table, and she says, Kevin, I want some of your chicken. And he was so cool. He just slid his plate over. And I was thinking, I don't know if I would have slid my plate over. Like, I asked you if you want a chicken. Like, I just learned so much from them. I could tell you story after, like one day they just went in the back porch. They had the fireplace going. They had 2 chairs, the hassock, the drink, and they were reading their books. And I was like, wow, like that's good, you know. Well, one time they asked me, they said, Ruben, we were going to watch this show together. We watched Desperate Housewives on Wednesday. We all watched it together. They said, we're going to make some cookies, and cookies and tea or cookies and coffee. Would you like some? She's from Czech, so they love tea, and so they said, yeah. So they get out the full tea server, the full coffee thing, And I go down there and they said, hey, take these in there. And they gave me this plate that had 3 cookies, and I'm carrying the tea and I bring it in. And the cookies were hot out of the oven. And I was like, I should just eat one right now while it's hot. And I said, well, let me wait for them, Ruben, calm down. And they came in, and she sat down. She had tea. He had coffee. I had coffee. And they all sat down. And I'm like, what? And she picks up the plate, and he took a cookie, and she took a cookie, and I had a cookie. I thought they were my cookies. They made 1 cookie each. And I said,
It must have been a big cookie.
no, sir, they weren't.
I mean,
No, sir, they weren't. And so then we said Deborah Hoot, that means like bon appetit and
Right.
check. And we ate the cookie. And I said, this was so cool. I learned so much. I said, I'm gonna tell you guys something. In my family, we never would have wasted all of that electricity for
make
3 cookies.
cookies.
Watch this. And he said, what we decided is we'd rather waste electricity and not waste the calories. So we just disciplined ourselves to cook 1 cookie each.
Because if you cook 12, you eat.
Yeah, you're right. That's exactly. And I was like, like, you know what I'm saying? I mean, just like so many times I learned these little, like, that's wisdom. Like, why put it in front of you if you know you don't need it? Why? You see what I'm saying? And I almost ate the cookies right then. You know what I'm saying?
You know what? That's why they should serve ice cream in half pints.
Exactly.
The 3rd pints, because I'm so tempted to eat the whole
pint.
pint.
Exactly. And then before you know it, it's gone. That's why I love the people that I'm around, because I literally feel like I'm learning all the time. I literally feel like I'm going. When you get to a certain stage in your life, there's nobody really coming around to teach you. You learn from your associations. You learn from your relationships. And that's why I hold them in such high regard. I learned, my life changed. His father, we were building our martial arts school. Remember, I told you the doctor told me, get your own building. So it took us like a year to build that. Every Saturday, his dad would come, and his dad was a manager at Hills, I think Pet Food, I think it's what it was. No, Frito-Lay. And his dad would come and help us, and his mom would come and sweep up the trash, and like every Saturday. I mean, we were there every Saturday. And then one Friday night, his dad wanted to talk to us. So we're down there, and he said, I need to talk to you guys. And we're like, okay. He said, unfortunately, something's going on at the plant tomorrow. And, they're going to have me come in.
Right.
And I was like, they ain't going to pay you. He said, yeah. I think he said, we get triple time, but I wanted to be here with you guys. So let me give you the things to do. You're going to work on this. You're going to pound this rod in. We got to put the electrical box in. They got this 6-foot copper rod. You're going to pound it in the ground. Like, he told us all this stuff. And then I remember that night thinking, his dad was sad that he's going to go in and make triple time, but he cannot be with Kevin and I helping them to think. And that's why I said it. I'm so glad I had that experience, because that's why I said, just my son and I just cooking on the grill. There is no substitute for time. Kids spell time. Kids spell love, T-I-M-E. T-I-M-E. There's no substitute for the time. And for his dad, like, I learned so much. I was like, man, he would rather be there with us. Like, I learned that.
Are you at peace?
Yes.
Are you happy?
Very.
Content?
Yes.
What's next? What goes beyond?
Next for me is that's the ability to make an impact. That I want to share.
Full circle.
Yeah,
we're
like,
going right back to full circle.
I feel like I was given all of these amazing relationships and amazing friendships, and I realized I could not have created that. I don't know. Like, it wasn't me that found Kevin. We just started working together. We grew together. We've done it for so long, and we've been friends forever.
But your gift is inspiring other people to do the best they can do.
Yeah, because I realize now, I was in surgery in Wichita, Kansas, and this nurse, Edwina Blackman, said, Ruben, you could talk to people. I was like, what? Yeah. She said, you could change people's lives. I said, what are you talking? I'm a surgical assistant. Like, what are you talking about? She said, do you not see the way people gather around you when you talk? And I never saw it. I said, well, no. She said, Ruben, look, the doctors, the nurses, the tech, everybody gathers around you when you talk. They're listening to you. I thought that was the craziest thing I'd ever heard. Like, what are you saying? And then I started noticing people did listen to me. And then Henry David Thoreau was asked at the end of his life, if you could come back as anyone throughout history, who would you like to come back as? And he said, I'd like to come back as the man I never was. Thank God.
Hold on a second.
Yeah.
I want to come back as the man I never was. I don't understand that. The man I could have been, I understand.
Same concept.
Okay. I want to come back as the man I could have been.
Basically, yeah.
Right.
But I got to use his words.
Okay.
He said the man I was. Never was. Thank God that Edwina Blackman helped me see a Ruben that didn't exist. I didn't even know existed.
Right.
Like I like me. So
how old were you?
This
25?
was in 2002.
Wow. So your life, this life, and what are you now? 50?
55. My
So
birthday
did-
was January 3rd.
So this world didn't start for you until you're in the 30s.
Exactly. And what if I didn't listen? I've written
You'd
a
be
number of books.
calling on hospitals.
They're all dedicated to her. Every time I go out to another country, I always bring her back a gift. Edwina, you and I were in Dubai. You and I were in Oman. You and I were in London. Why? Because if you wouldn't have convinced me or told me, I would have never seen. And one day I'm in the hospital and she said, I'm sitting down at the cafeteria. I put my plate down and she walks up with this younger nurse named Johanna. And she said, Ruben, like kind of like my mom. She said, outside now. And I had just set my food down. I said, she said, shh. And like, I didn't say nothing. I got up and I walked outside and she said, I heard something about you and I can't believe it. Clean it up and don't ever let me hear something like that about you again. And then they turned and walked off. And I went back and I was so shocked. I couldn't even eat. What did I do? Like, so honestly, I had to clean up everything because I didn't know what she was talking about. Like, was she talking about this or was she talking about that? But just the thought that she would be disappointed in me,
Right.
I couldn't take it. Probably 3 or 4 years ago, I was talking to her on the phone. I said, Edwina, remember when you came? She said, yeah. I said, what was it? Like, it's my.
It was nothing.
She said, oh, it was. Don't worry about it. She said, it's good. I was like, are you serious? She said, yeah. I always wanted you to hold yourself to the highest standard.
Oh.
You know what I'm saying?
Person.
I was shocked.
Yeah.
But again, it's those people in my life that can see something in me that I couldn't see, and that would help me strive for a higher.
Are you telling me this is over?
You're good. He just keeps getting a little.
Yeah.
You're good.
Yeah.
Okay. How long we been going?
About an hour 10. You're
All
good.
right.
It's a good one.
Yeah. Would you do this again next time you pass through town?
Absolutely.
I'm going to ask you a big favor.
Yes, sir.
I know what the answer is going to be.
Yeah.
But I would like to ask you if you would help protect my single greatest. I don't know. It's not property. My single greatest asset. No, my single greatest treasure.
Yes.
Will you help protect my children by mentoring them?
Absolutely.
Will you? Thank you.
Absolutely. It would be my pleasure. I think the recognizing, first of all, I want to say thank you for just recognizing the value that I've tried to bring to my life over these years, just learning and growing and studying. And I really want it to be a lesson to anyone listening. We can't always see how the things we do are going to benefit us in the long run, because that's why they call it the long run. We can't see it, but you just have to believe that the benefit is coming.
See, sometimes there's an old expression: a prophet has to carry a briefcase and travel to 1,000 miles before he's acknowledged. Right, in your own home, in your own community, sometimes it's difficult.
It's very
right. It's not that I'm incapable of or my message is wrong. I'm just too familiar.
I call it too near to hear.
Too near to hear.
And I got my wife, my friend Kevin. She was like, what should we do about this? Is this? Well, I've worked with Kevin forever. Like he's been the
Right.
guy that's run our school, so I know what he's gonna say. I said, well, let's do this. She said, no, I don't think so. She said, I want to talk with Kevin about it. He's an expert at this stuff. Okay, that'd be great. I want you to talk to Kevin because I already know what he's going to say because he's the one that taught me before I ever met you. So he went over there, she met with him, and she came back. This was so funny, Bob. Let me show you what Kevin said. All I had to do was turn over this paper and it would be exactly what, but I didn't. I said, well, tell me what he said. She went through it. I was like, wow, that's amazing. That's so good. And so when I went with that, because then we lived right next door to each other. So I went and met with her the next day. Said, yeah, I just told her everything we always talk about. Right. I said, I know, but she wasn't going to hear it from me. Sometimes they're just too near to hear.
Right.
And so that's why I love people in my family sending them to him because I already know what he's going to say. I already trust him. I already see the value he's brought to my life, even in a short period of time, but even over a long period of time. And so I love sending people his way. And so
and he knew you before you were somebody.
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
For sure. Yeah. It's even
you guys grew up together.
We started together in college. Like in college, we were in the Washburn University Karate Club. He started a few years after me. And then we grew together, trained together. And then he wanted to study under me. I tested for his black belt, and we started our school together. And we've had it for 26 years. Let me tell you one thing, Bob, though, and I'll tell this to anybody listening. And this is why even you said something earlier, and I just lit up. You don't even know it.
Right.
I was like, oh, yeah. The biggest mistake I've ever had is I have a martial arts school. And I say that because nobody was there to tell me to dream bigger than that. Why didn't I say 10 schools? Why didn't I say 50 schools? So I set my goal as 1, and I've achieved every goal I've ever said. But to this day, I still have 1. I should have said 10. I should have said 100. I should have said an international martial arts organization. But there was nobody to tell me. Matter of fact, when I told people I was going to have a school, they said, well, how are you going to do that? You can't do that. Right, like they thought that was too much. And so I was dead set on showing them I could have this school. Where if I'd have had anybody that said, Ruben, set it for 25. Because even if you only get half, you get 12 or 13. You know what I'm saying? So when you said, I started this out selling used carpet, and then we started franchising and growing. And I was like, that's what I didn't have. I didn't have anybody to say, okay, Ruben, that's great. That's why now I don't limit. When I said I'm going to be a speaker, I'm going to be a global speaker speaking to world leaders. How are you going to meet the world leaders? I don't know.
I'd rather see you be the influence behind the world leader than the person speaking on stage in front of 80,000 people.
Yeah. The handful.
I'd rather see, if my dream for you is nobody knows who the hell you are.
Right. Yeah.
But you are the influence that makes our society work.
Yeah. Remember the show, Charlie's Angels? And who was the guy? Tom Bosley? No, Bosley. The guy who you never saw. You just always heard his Bosley. Yeah.
Oh, that was Charlie.
Charlie. Yeah, Charlie. You always heard Charlie.
Right.
Yeah. But you never saw him.
Right.
Yeah.
I'd like to whispering into the ears of world leaders of how to make our society more gentle, more accepting, more tolerant.
And that's what in my stage now, that's what I better understand. And I realize the value of that far greater.
The ego is pay me the money to speak in front of 80,000 people. Right. Your value is tweaking society.
Exactly.
The 1 or 2 people that really make a difference.
Right, because they're gonna reach the 80,000.
If you can tweak somebody in each village, so this village can talk to this village because now they have a common something to talk about that you've influenced.
Exactly.
You have a much better impact that way.
I agree, and it's taken me a while to understand that. Only because I had to shift in my mind, where is the real value? See, because 80,000, it sounds good, but it doesn't mean they're going to do anything, right? But when you inoculate the leader, they can go inoculate the whole country, not just 80,000, everybody in the country. Here's the new policy. Here's the new thing. You see, and once you understand that, you're like, oh. And the other thing, Bob, is you have to get past the show.
Ego.
Yeah, you have to get
You pass
yes,
the ego.
because at the top there really is no pictures.
Do you have enough money to go through the rest of your life?
Not yet.
Okay. You have to have enough fuck you money,
Exactly.
right? Where you can say, I don't need what, stop laughing. Where you can say, I don't need to do this because I have enough.
Exactly.
I won't do that
Because
because
I
I
have
have
enough.
enough.
Right.
Right? That money can't influence
So your
who
decision.
you're doing or what
Yes.
you're going to do
Yep.
because you have enough. It's
Exactly.
called fuck you money.
Yeah.
Right? Once you have that,
Then it's all you. And that's really the key is now understanding that you just take the things that are valuable. Like a lot of stuff I don't desire to do. Like I do live in a level of contentment in that there's not much more I can go to do that really makes me like I have to go do this. No, I want to make the impact. I want to.
if you're motivated by money, you're not going to be in my inner circle.
No, it's
No,
not.
no.
Me.
Greed
Yeah.
is never going to be the people I admire.
No.
I admire people who true to themselves.
Yeah.
What they say is what they do, is what they believe. It's consistent, and their values are based in giving more than they take.
Yeah, that's it. And making an impact. Like I
Making an
I
impact.
love my son Spencer reached out to me and he said, "Dad, my birthday was January 3rd.
Happy birthday.
Thank you." And he said,
Double nickel?
"Yep, 55." And he said, "The next time you're in town, I want to take you out to dinner. I want right." It was funny because I was around talking to a group at the hospital, and I couldn't even say it because they haven't experienced it in that way. See, so many adults are still experiencing financial outpatient care. I got that from Kevin, where they're still taking care of their adult children, and just to have him call me and say, "No, I want
wanna
to
pick
take
up
you
your
out.
tab.
Yeah, no, let
I
me take you out."
And you know what? It's a great joy to allow them the absolute pleasure and privilege and honor of picking up the tab.
Yeah,
It's a gift. It's nothing. Who cares about the meal or the
Yeah.
money? It's the gift of giving them. You're standing on your own. You should be very proud of yourself.
exactly. And those are the kind of impacts I like making. To realize that, what am I giving to society? These 3 children that are going to continue to go and impact. It's going to pull their weight. It's going to do their part. They're going to pass on these valuable lessons. And I think that's where I think to me, that's the evolution. When you get to the point, in my opinion, where you realize that, Boswell Junior High is where my dad went to school and it's no longer there.
Okay.
It's never existed during my lifetime that I know of.
All right.
But I still know about Boswell Junior High because
This
it
has
was
nothing to do with Charlie's Angels.
no, because it made such an impact on my dad. He told me about it. So I can pass on information to you about Boswell Junior High, never having been there, never having seen it. It probably never existed in my life. To be able to think that we have impacted our children, that even when we're gone, people will know things we said, and the Bobisms, the little slogans that you said.
Did you hear?
Yes, I did. That
Yeah,
I just said it exactly.
yeah.
Sorry, I don't miss that.
Right.
That is value to me. Like I remember, I told you there's nothing to me
Do you
like the
remember the saying?
relationship. I don't remember which one it was.
You were talking about, and I was about to, and my son pipes up and said, "You're about to say spectators don't have a win-loss record."
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. You see
'Cause-
that's but you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
Long-
It's been hard work.
Long,
It's been a long, hard journey.
but
to
long
get him
after
to
you
think
get,
like that.
long after you're gone, somebody's gonna be hearing spectators don't have a win-loss record. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
That's value. That's to me. That's what we bring.
Yeah.
That's real value. That longer after I'm gone, people will know
Yeah.
the impact I made. My children, their children, their friends.
Well, and not everybody can say that.
No, and they missed the value.
Yes.
See, like they didn't realize that was the value.
Because what's the most important job you have? Being a parent.
See, and then the other thing is, I had a different philosophy. Number one, I never feel like I didn't have enough. Like
No poor people ever think they were poor.
Yeah, But my theory is never, even with my son, my daughter, my youngest son, is not giving them what I didn't have, is teaching them what I didn't know so they can get what I didn't have. You see what I'm saying? Like, why do I have to get, like, let me teach you this. Let me teach it. Because if I teach it to you, you can go get it. You don't need me to give it to you. And so I'd rather kind of not give it to you and have you go get it so that you realize, oh, I can get it. Yes.
Write notes. I'm going to let you go.
Indeed, my friend. I appreciate it. Thank you for allowing
Thank
me.
you very much. Till next time, thank you very much for tuning in.
We'll see you.
Bye now.